जो भारत की जड़ों से जुड़ी थी, ऐसे राजनीतिक दलों में आज अर्बन नक्सल पैठ जमा चुके हैं। आज वहां अर्बन नक्सलियों की आवाज, उनकी ही भाषा सुनाई देती है। इसी से हम समझ सकते हैं कि इनकी जड़ें कितनी गहरी हैं।
Last decade has seen systematic pursuit of that ecosystem, plugging their funding channels and exposing and putting known anti-national elements on trial. Bhima Koregaon case being the most representative of that pursuit. The massive documentation in the case exposed the innards of the Maoist mindset. With a strong belief in overthrowing democratic government through a violent revolution, one document, part of the Bhima Koregaon charge sheet, even mentioned details of an assassination bid on Prime Minister Modi. Listen in.
2018 में भीमा कोरेगांव हुआ। भीमा कोरेगांव में जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स निकले इनके लैपटॉप से, इनके जो एक्सचेंज थे, जो ये लोग मैसेजेस एक्सचेंज करते थे अलग अलग एप्स के थ्रू, तो उसमें 2017 का एक लेटर है जिसमें प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी को मारने की प्लानिंग है।
The gorilla in the jungles of Abujamand, the professor at a university campus, the television debater justifying acts of violence as angst of the subalterns, the five-star activist calling Naxals Gandhians with guns, and the Khan Market gang, all formed a continuum with the same objective, that of compromising the territorial integrity and sovereignty of India. A centrifugal force working to break the nation. From the JNU of 2016 to the Jadavpur University campus recently, the Osmania University and the FTII, the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and even some IITs, all have been part of that Tukre gang. That thankfully stands fully exposed, if not fully neutralized yet. But we are close. Moving on.
Il a sorti la bombe nucléaire. Et si il utilise une arme aussi puissante contre nous, c'est évidemment parce que nous sommes sur le point de gagner les élections.
It's a nuclear bomb aimed at my political death, said Marine Le Pen, France's right-wing leader of the National Rally Party, on Tuesday, a day after she was sentenced to 5 years in jail and banned for holding any public office for next 5 years, after being convicted in a decades-old corruption case. The purported crime involved Le Pen employing some of her party's office bearers in France at the expense of European Union funds when she was a member of the European Parliament in the 2004-2016 period. The verdict drew immediate, strong reactions from the conservative world. Donald Trump called it a witch hunt. Viktor Orban of Hungary posted on X, "I stand with Marine." Le Pen is not just any other politician. She's the first leader from the right in France who is close to becoming the president of the French Republic, or was till this week's verdict. Le Pen has single-handedly consolidated the position of her party as a credible right-wing alternative in French politics over decades, even throwing out her father in 2015 for his extreme views, in her efforts to mainstream the national rally. Her efforts have translated into electoral gains, from little over 8% votes in 2004 to 10.18% in 2009 to 14% in 2014, to breaking through a glass ceiling in 2024 EU elections, securing 31% votes and becoming France's single largest party in Brussels, a feat no party had achieved since 1984. Her June 2024 EU victory forced Emmanuel Macron to declare a snap poll for the lower house of the French Parliament. And even there, Le Pen emerged as the winner in the first runoff, getting more votes than EU polls. Facing a real threat of a right-wing takeover, the traditional left-leaning French establishment realigned political forces to relegate Le Pen's party to third position in the second round, but not before turning Le Pen into a real force in the reckoning. She had been polling average of 35% in most opinion polls for the French presidency as a build-up to 2027 presidential elections. The Monday verdict comes in this backdrop. Not the first time that this has happened in Europe in the last few months. In fact, in November last year, Calin Georgescu, a pro-Russia politician, won a landslide in first round of general elections in Romania. Even before the last of the votes were counted, his election was countermanded by the country's constitutional court in Bucharest on the grounds that his campaign used digital platforms in a manner that it amounted to fraudulent use of technology. In effect, Georgescu's crime was that he used TikTok more efficiently than his political rivals. It did not end there. Like in the case of Marine Le Pen, the court in Bucharest ruled that Georgescu would not be allowed to participate in the runoff elections that are slated to take place in May. That's next month. Italy's Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini called it a Soviet-style Euro coup. J.D. Vance, that bugbear of European liberal leaders, called Georgescu's annulment a backsliding of democracy in Europe. In January, Thierry Breton, a former EU commissioner and someone who drafted the Digital Services Act, which was used by the Romanian court to eject Georgescu, threatened a repeat in Germany in case the far-right AfD party led by Alice Weidel won the elections. In an interview to a French network, Breton said EU had mechanisms to nullify a possible election victory of AfD, adding that what we did in Romania, we can do in Germany also. Elon Musk, having just finished an interview with Weidel on his platform X, joined an issue with Breton, calling him tyrant of Europe. Call it the ruling elites, call it the deep state, call it the really deep left establishment. From France to Romania to Germany, it knows when to strike and how to gerrymander verdicts. That leaves us with the question, is Europe truly democratic? The democratic activism that West shows, all the preachiness, is it compulsive or convenient? If a referendum is the most direct form of democratic exercise, what's Europe's record? Let's look at some history without passing any judgment. Back in the 1990s, Denmark voted against joining the EU as part of the Maastricht Treaty in June 1992. The European ruling elites did not like this vote against their consensus, and the Danes were made to vote again. This time, in May 1993, Denmark turned around and voted yes. Similarly, in the case of Ireland, when the Treaty of Nice had to be signed by the EU states in 2001 to account for the eastward expansion, the Irish rejected it in June of that year. But they were made to hold another referendum, and the Nice Treaty was approved with some tweaks of words here and there. Again, the EU elites not taking a no for an answer in the name of democracy. The saga continued. Ireland was made to hold 2 referendums in 2008, again for the Lisbon Treaty, which was meant to further strengthen the EU mechanisms over national governments. It gets better. France held a referendum in 2005 on whether to accept the EU constitution. It was defeated with a clear majority of 55% voting against it. The French political elites simply dumped the vote, changed leadership. PM Jean-Pierre Raffarin was replaced with Dominique de Villepin. Nicolas Sarkozy, a Euro hawk, was brought in as interior minister, and the Lisbon Treaty was just approved with a parliamentary vote, not bothering at all about a referendum this time. Ditto for the Netherlands. A referendum the Dutch held after 200 years was nullified because it did not suit the expected results. Clearly, democracy is good, but direct democracy is not. Obviously, because it loosens the control of the elites, which is absolutely fine, but then why be so preachy is the question. You can safely come to the conclusion that for Europe, democracy is a test in which, if you get the wrong answer, you have to simply vote twice, as this recent history proves. Thanks for watching.
The Karnataka High Court has urged Parliament and state legislatures to enact a uniform civil code emphasizing its importance in promoting gender justice, equality and fraternity as outlined in the Constitution's preamble. A single-judge bench led by Justice Hanchate Sanjeev Kumar highlighted the disparities in the personal laws, particularly between Hindu and Mohammedan law, and stressed that the UCC would ensure equal rights for women across all religions. This directive came through during a judgment in a property dispute case where the court upheld the rights of a woman to her rightful share in the estate, citing constitutional principles of equality before the law. Home Minister Amit Shah is set to visit Jammu and Kashmir for a 3-day trip to review the region's security situation and interact with security personnel. During his visit, Shah will meet BJP MLAs in Jammu and chair key security review meeting focusing on counter-terrorism, cross-border infiltration and the overall security landscape. Additionally, he will virtually inaugurate and lay foundation stone for several multi-crore projects aimed at enhancing development in the region. The passage of the contentious Waqf Amendment Bill in Parliament has sparked discontent within the Janata Dal United, with 5 Muslim leaders from Bihar resigning in protest against the party's support for the bill. Despite the growing unrest, JDU leadership led by Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar downplayed the resignations, terming them as inconsequential while asserting that no prominent Muslim leader has left the party over the issue.
लगातार जनता दल यूनाइटेड पर्दे के पीछे छुपकर हाथ मजबूत कर रही थी भारतीय जनता पार्टी को, लेकिन ये जो वक्फ अमेंडमेंट बिल है इसमें जो पास हुआ है, जनता दल यूनाइटेड का पूरा चेहरा उजागर हो गया, पर्दा हट गया है। और ये लोग जिस तरीके से अंदर खाने में पूरे जनता दल यूनाइटेड को भाजपाकरण कर दिया गया है। ललन सिंह का चाहे बयान देखिए संसद के अंदर, या माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जो बात कहते हैं वही बात जो है ललन सिंह दोहराते हैं। तो साजिश तो माइनॉरिटीज़ के साथ लगातार हो रही है और नीतीश कुमार उसके हिस्सा बने हुए हैं।
Hyderabad police have imposed strict restrictions on BJP MLA T. Raja Singh's annual Ram Navami Shobha Yatra scheduled today. The guidelines aim to prevent provocative speeches, slogans or songs that could offend any community. Additionally, as per the mandate, organizers are barred from using high decibel equipment, fireworks and drones without prior approval. The procession moving from Jali Hanuman Temple to Hanuman Vyashamshala must stay on the extreme left side of the road to ensure smooth traffic flow with no stops for speeches permitted.
इसको घर पे लगाओगे तो शादी का तो पता नहीं, पर घर पक्का नहीं टूटेगा।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
पहाड़ों में एक हाइकिंग शिप भी बन सकती है।
सस्ते वाले दाल मसाले स्वाद हुआ बेकार। NDH की हल्दी मिर्ची धनिया करे कमाल। ये रंग दे, ये खुशबू दे, ये तीखा, ये कम पड़े। क्या निराला NDH मसाला।
There will be no global recession. So, firstly, there will be no US recession. There will be no global recession. This talk of recession is completely overblown. People talk of recession partly because of the Smoot-Hawley tariffs of 1930. That was an 80% tariff imposed on almost all countries. One of the biggest sufferers from it was Japan then, and Japan responded with Takahashi Korekiyo, the finance minister at the time, coming up with what are now called Keynesian policies. Be that as it may, there was a depression in 1930 because of this.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Thank you for staying with Republic TV. You're watching Live and Breaking this Sunday with me, Oyana Mitra. And yes, the showdown over the Waqf Amendment Bill is only escalating as the All India Muslim Personal Law Board has now called for nationwide protest. Tracking the latest reactions on that and much more, but first the headlines at 11 a.m. All India Muslim Personal Law Board calls for nationwide protests, says will ask minorities across cities in India to oppose the Waqf Amendment Bill.
सरकार बनाकर के इस कानून को पूरे दान में फेंकना सीए एनआरसी का भी हम लोगों ने प्रस्ताव जो भेजा था कि नहीं भेजा था कि किसी भी कीमत पे हम लोग सीए एनआरसी को बिहार में लागू नहीं होने देंगे.
RJD leader Tejashwi Yadav claims Waqf bill will be tossed into the dustbin if the party is elected to power in Bihar. West Bengal turns fortress for Ram Navami processions, security heightened across the state. Union Home Minister Amit Shah to visit Jammu and Kashmir later today to take stock of state's security framework. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman meets former AIADMK General Secretary amid rumours of the party's return to NDA. Sources say announcement likely soon. Prime Minister Modi to visit Tamil Nadu to inaugurate the Pamban Rail Bridge and a slew of developmental projects. Viewers, as the Ram Navami celebrations are underway across India, several states and police and administrations have now stepped up security measures to avert any unrest in West Bengal. Now this as a large number of religious rallies are expected to take place throughout the day. Now parts of Bengal have witnessed unrest previously during religious processions in recent years, and now this year's celebrations has prompted Bengal authorities to take preemptive measures to avert any such situation. And hundreds of rallies have been scheduled across the state, and the police have deployed at least 30 senior officers in 10 sensitive zones. In fact, we're also learning that Bengal Governor C.V. Anand Bose has announced activating a peace room at the Raj Bhavan in Kolkata to monitor the situation. And getting in the latest reactions from the BJP as Ram Navami celebrations are underway across Bengal. Let's listen in.
इससे पता चल रहा है कि बंगाल में हिंदू सेकंड दर्जे के नागरिक हैं, इसलिए ऐसा हो रहा है. सेकंड दर्जे की नागरिक बना के ममता बनर्जी ने, सिटीजन बना के ममता बनर्जी ने रख लिया. लेकिन राम तो सबके हैं, हम तो बोलते हैं राम सबके हैं, सब सारी पार्टियां, यहाँ तक कि सीपीएम को भी रामनवमी में जुलूस में चलना चाहिए. कौन मना कर रहा है? करना चाहिए. तृणमूल भी करे, कौन मना कर रहा है?
हाईकोर्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का रक्षा करता है. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में हर धर्मों का पालन करने का अधिकार है. आर्टिकल 25 से 28 पढ़ लीजिए.
All right, now joining me on this broadcast is my colleague Bhaskar from Kharagpur. Bhaskar, you're on the ground. Celebrations are underway. We can see that a bike rally is currently underway by the BJP. Tell us, what is the atmosphere like in Kharagpur right now? What are the security measures that are currently in place as celebrations are underway?
देखिए, इस वक्त रामनवमी के लिए बाइक रैली चल रहा है और वरिष्ठ भाजपा नेता दिलीप घोष वो खुद इस बाइक रैली पे मौजूद है और मेरा वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट जबरदस्त तो सारे तस्वीरें दिखा रहे हैं. देखिए, सबसे पहले जो तस्वीर मेरा वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट जबरदस्त दिखा रहा है कि दिलीप घोष वरिष्ठ भाजपा नेता वो अभी ये मिदनापुर टाउन के अंदर जो बाइक रैली चल रहा है रामनवमी को सामने रखकर उस बाइक रैली पे मौजूद है और खुद बाइक को राइड करते हुए वो आगे बढ़ रहे हैं उनके दूसरे प्रोग्राम की तरफ. और देखिए, जिस तरह से पूरे एटमॉस्फेयर, देखिए अगर एक शब्द में बोलना है तो इसको कहते हैं इलेक्ट्रीफाइंग एटमॉस्फेयर. जिस तरह से जो हिंदू हैं वो सड़क पे आ चुके हैं, जिस तरह से ये रामनवमी की त्योहार यहाँ पे मनाया जा रहा है, पुलिस की रेस्ट्रिक्शंस के बावजूद जहाँ पे बहुत सारे जगहों पे ये रामनवमी की जो प्रोसेशन निकलने के लिए कोर्ट के पास जाना पड़ा आयोजक को, वहाँ पे सनातनियों ने सब मिलके एकजुट होके अभी सड़क पे आ चुके हैं। और देखिए जो तस्वीर इस वक्त मेदिनीपुर शहर से दिख रहा है कि सब मिलके एक साथ नारे लगाते हुए इधर बाइक रैली कर रहे हैं और दिलीप घोष वो भी खुद इस बाइक रैली पर मौजूद है। वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट देवव्रत तो सारे तस्वीरें दिखा रहे हैं आप लोगों को। देखिए पूरा देश अभी आज रामनवमी के जो उत्सव है उस उत्सव में शामिल हो चुका है। और पश्चिम बंगाल में काफी सारी जगहों से ऐसे भी सूचना आ रही है कि काफी सारी जगहों पे पुलिस रोक रहे हैं इस रामनवमी के जो उस त्योहार मनाने के लिए हिंदुओं को। पर दिलीप घोष की तरह जितने सारे भाजपा नेता हैं, जितने सारे रामनवमी के ऑर्गेनाइजर्स हैं, उन लोगों का साफ कहना है कि रामनवमी के जो जुलूस बाहर जरूर निकलेगा। आम हिंदू आम आदमी सब मिलके ये जो रामनवमी के जो त्योहार है वो त्योहार मनाएंगे। अगर कहीं पे किसी भी तरह की कोई रोक देने की कोशिश किया पुलिस और ममता के सरकार ने, तो फिर वहीं पे जो कारनामा किया जाएगा हिंदुओं की तरफ से। देखिए इस वक्त जो मेदिनीपुर शहर है, मेदिनीपुर शहर के अंदर इस वक्त ये बाइक रैली चल रहा है। दिलीप घोष जी वो भी खुद मौजूद है और देखिए पूरे सारे तस्वीरें हम लोग आपको दिखा रहे थे। दिलीप घोष जी वो भी है। मैं मेरा वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट देवव्रत को बुलाऊंगा। देवव्रत मैं मेरे साथ आओ। इस वक्त दिलीप घोष वो है यहाँ पे जो बाइक रैली खत्म हो चुका है। दिलीप घोष जी इस वक्त की तस्वीरें देखिए। दिलीप घोष जी लोग कह रहे हैं, पूरे देश देख रहे हैं, कह रहे हैं कि ये तो असंभव हो गया पश्चिम बंगाल के अंदर इतनी लंबी बाइक रैली।
पश्चिम बंगाल में सभी संभव है। इतना ज्यादा जगह में रामनवमी का उत्सव हो सकता है तो बाइक रैली भी हो सकता है।
आप खुद बाइक चला के आए जो रामनवमी मना रहे हैं। काफी सारी जगह पे ऐसे सूचना भी आ रही है कि पुलिस की तरफ से रेस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाने का कोशिश हो रहा है। अगर किसी तरह के रेस्ट्रिक्शंस आया तो फिर क्या होगा?
बाइक रैली हो रहा है रास्ता से, इसमें रेस्ट्रिक्शन क्या है? किसी का एक्सीडेंट किया है क्या? कौन सा रूल वायलेट किया है? जो बोल रहे हैं उसको बोलने दीजिए, हम तो करने वाले हैं।
रामनवमी की त्योहार, हनुमान जयंती की त्योहार मनाया जाएगा,
जोरदार मनाया जाएगा। हिंदुस्तान में रामनवमी नहीं हो तो कहाँ हो? लंदन में होगा। यहाँ राम यहाँ के राष्ट्र पुरुष है। रामनवमी धमाके से होगा, हर साल होगा और एक से एक बड़ा होगा।
बिल्कुल देखिए और इस वक्त की तस्वीरें दिखा रहे हैं मेरे वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट देवव्रत। जितने सारे लोग थे, जितने सारे हिंदू थे, सब मिलकर इधर बाइक रैली के बाद सब एकजुट हो चुके हैं। और दिलीप घोष का कहना है कि रामनवमी जोरदार धमाके से मनाया जाएगा। क्यों नहीं मनाया जाएगा रामनवमी? और अगर ममता पुलिस, ममता एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन किसी तरह के भी रोक लगाने की कोशिश करे तो फिर उसके खिलाफ कारनामा भी होगा। अयोना
भास्कर, आप रोक की बात कर रहे हैं। वी आर ऑल्सो लर्निंग कि बंगाल पुलिस की सारी जो लीव्स है वो कैंसिल कर दी है अप्रैल 9 तक। कोई लेटेस्ट रिएक्शन आपके पास है फ्रॉम चीफ मिनिस्टर ममता बनर्जी? क्योंकि कोलकाता में भी, विच इज़ द कैपिटल सिटी ऑफ वेस्ट बंगाल, 50 के ऊपर रैलीज प्लान्ड है थ्रू आउट द डे। स्कोर्स ऑफ हिंदूज आर ऑन द स्ट्रीट्स। भास्कर,
बिल्कुल देखिए पूरे राज्य में 2000 के आसपास रैली निकलने वाले हैं आज, ऐसा कहना है ऑर्गेनाइजर्स का। और देखिए जहां तक कलकत्ता की सवाल है, कलकत्ता में 29 आईपीएस ऑफिसर को स्पेशली डिप्लॉय किया गया इस रामनवमी के त्योहार के लिए। इस रामनवमी के दिन जितने सारे शोभा यात्रा निकलेंगे उसके लिए, और इसी पे सवाल उठा रहे हैं सारे ऑर्गेनाइजर्स। ऐसे भी एलिगेशंस आ रहे हैं कि जहां जहां पुलिस ये रामनवमी को रिस्ट्रिक्ट करना चाह रहे हैं उधर धमकियां दिया जा रहा है, जितने सारे ऑर्गेनाइजर्स है उन लोगों के खिलाफ केस दर्ज हो रहा है, ऐसे भी एलिगेशंस आ रहे हैं। बिल्कुल देखिए यहाँ पे जो हालात है, इस वक्त मैं हूँ मेदिनीपुर टाउन पर पूरी पश्चिम बंगाल में जो हालात है, ये हालात एक ही चीज बोल रहे हैं कि 26 के विधानसभा चुनाव के पहले जिस तरह से जो आखिरी रामनवमी के त्योहार है, इस त्योहार पे जिस तरह से पुलिस रोक लगाने की कोशिश किया, इस पे सबके सब जितने सारे हिंदू पूरे राज्य में इस वक्त रामनवमी के त्योहार मना रहे हैं, आगे भी मनाएंगे, शोभा यात्रा भी होंगे। वो उधर लोग के अंदर गुस्सा बढ़ रहा है और दिलीप घोष की तरफ भाजपा जो कि अलग से भी ये रामनवमी में पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, पार्टी छोड़ के भी पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, उन लोगों का कहना है कि ये रामनवमी की जो शोभा यात्राएं है सबके सब होगा, धमाके से होगा, जितने सारे पुलिस, जितने सारे एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के ऑफिसर्स को डिप्लॉय किया जाए, करने की कोशिश करें ममता बनर्जी, करने दीजिए, रामनवमी चलेगा, चलता रहेगा, ऐसा साफ कहना है दिलीप घोष का।
Right, Bhaskar, thank you so much for all those updates from Kharagpur in West Bengal. Viewers, those are the visuals on your screen. Celebrations are underway across the state and security measures are in place. All right, now moving on to the biggest story that we've been tracking all of this last week. Now, a day after the Waqf Amendment Bill received assent from President Draupadi Murmu, the All India Shia Personal Law Board has now expressed concern over the matter. The board has said that it is a matter of great regret that they will oppose, that the President has given assent to the bill and that they will oppose the bill no matter what. Now, the All India Shia Board statement comes a day after the All India Muslim Personal Law Board also announced nationwide protests against the biggest reform of 2025. And they have said that they will hit the streets and have called for minorities across the nation to unite against what they call a draconian, one-sided anti-minority bill. Getting in the latest reaction from the All India Shia Board. Listen in.
बड़े अफसोस की बात है जिस तेजी से वक्फ बिल पास हुआ कि एक दिन लोकसभा में पूरी रात बहस होती रही, 2 बजे रात को, फिर राज्यसभा में भी यही हाल रहा और राष्ट्रपति के पास जाके फौरन मंजूरी नहीं मिलती है, उसको देखा जाता है, उसको परखा जाता है, उसके लीगल एक्सेप्ट देखे जाते हैं, मगर बड़े अफसोस की बात है कि राष्ट्रपति महोदया से भी उसको मंजूरी मिल गई है। अब देखते हैं अपने लीगल सेल को बिठा के कि हमारी लीगल सेल बैठ के क्या कहती है और हमारी लीगल सेल जो भी राय देगी उसके ऊपर अमल किया जाएगा। देखिए, जिस तरीके से सुप्रीम कोर्ट की बात कही जा रही थी, कानून बन गया है, तो लिहाजा आप कानून के जानकारों से पूछना चाहिए कि इसके अंदर क्या हो सकता है। इसीलिए हमारी ऑल इंडिया शिया मसला बोर्ड की लीगल सेल है और हमारी लीगल सेल बाकायदा इसके ऊपर विचार कर रही है और उम्मीद है कि आज से कल तक के कोई रास्ता निकल के आएगा।
And Gopi, my colleague, is joining me on this broadcast from the national capital. Gopi, that's the latest reaction that we heard from the All India Shia Board, and also the All India Muslim Personal Board has called for protests. I want to understand from you, what is it that they're exactly hoping to achieve from these agitations, because the women's wing of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, in fact, yesterday came out endorsing the Waqf Amendment Bill.
Well, in fact, Toyona, time and again we have seen that since the day discussions have begun on Waqf Amendment Bill, we have seen that organizations like All India Muslim Personal Law Board or the Shia organizations which you have just mentioned in this bulletin, see, all these people have two major concerns. We happen to speak to many people around. They have said that they have problem with two clauses. One is Waqf by user clause, while second is inclusion of non-Hindus in the Waqf board from now on. Now, these two clauses, in fact, we happen to speak to the VHP president as well. He said that since the bill has been passed in both the houses of the parliament, they cannot manipulate this, as it is for the larger section of the Muslims who will be benefited from this particular bill. Now, understanding what kind of protests they are going to launch nationwide, what what we are learning from our sources is that from Delhi's Talkatora Stadium, there will be a huge gathering, and the first phase of campaigning and protest will be going on till Eid al-Adha, which falls in the month of June. So we will have to wait and watch what pans out next, Toyona, as security is also beefed up all across the country. We have been seeing how Ram Navami is also being celebrated across the country, while on the other hand, we are seeing protests erupting over Waqf bill. Yes, back to you, Ayona.
Yes. All right, Gopi, thank you so much for bringing us those updates. And viewers, that was the All India Shia Board now joining a slew of opposition parties in opposing the Waqf Amendment Bill. Now, we are also getting in more responses from the BJP over the opposition's call for street anarchy in a bid to oppose the biggest reform of 2025.
Joining us live is the International President of VHP, Alok Kumar. Sir, All India Muslim Personal Law Board has declared nationwide protest. How do you look at this against the Waqf bill which is passed?
It is a very wrong decision. Not because they do not have a right to protest, they do have a right to protest. But I would accuse them of spreading a blatant misinformation campaign to provoke the Muslim community by misleading them to believe that this bill is against the Muslims. This bill, before becoming an act, has passed through many stages. When it was introduced in the parliament, the opposition suggested that it be referred to the JPC. The JPC went around the country, heard all the views, and then decided its recommendations that were given to the government. The government accepted most of those recommendations, but then it was not bulldozed in the parliament. It was debated in the parliament in one of the longest debates on a bill, which went on past midnight. Everybody was allowed to speak, and allowed to speak beyond the allotted time to him. Everybody was heard, and then the parliament considered it, passed it by a sufficient majority. The bill is in favor of streamlining the Waqf system to ensure that its properties are safeguarded, to ensure that in future only such properties could be given to the Waqf of which the donor has a clear title, and then a proper documentation. The documentation to be put onto the website. It makes it transparent. It makes it foolproof. It is in favor of the Muslim community that the properties of the Waqf, that is, the properties that are donated to Allah, are well kept and used for the purposes of the Waqf. Why should somebody object to these provisions? It is in favor of the women. There would be representation of women, at least 2 in number, in the board and the Waqf Council. It has been decided by the Act that in the Waqf ul Aulad, the rights of the women members of the family will not be curtailed. And it provides that the destitutes, the divorcees, and the children, they would have a right to receive maintenance from the Waqf income.
जो कोशिश कर रही ऑल इंडिया मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड या ओवैसी, इमरान मसूद या जावेद, ये हमारे जो सदस्य रहे खुद जेपीसी में, उन्होंने देखा है कितनी व्यापक चर्चा हुई। ये कोर्ट जाना चाहे तो कोर्ट जाए, लेकिन ये लोगों को प्रवोक न करें, देश में आंदोलन करने की कोशिश न करें। अगर उनको संविधान पर विश्वास है तो उनको कोर्ट में जाना चाहिए। और मैं तो चुनौती देता हूँ कि अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल तो कांग्रेस यूपीए की सरकार में जब 2013 में अमेंडमेंट किया था कांग्रेस की सरकार ने वक्त में तब हुआ था, तब उसमें सेक्शन 40 जोड़ा था, 43 जोड़ा था, जिसमें किसी ज़मीन को चाहे कागज़ हो, कोई डीड हो, कोई हो न हो, लेकिन अगर वक्फ बोर्ड समझती कि वक्फ है, वक्फ की ज़मीन, तो वो वक्फ घोषित कर देती। तो ये वक्फ को उन्होंने अनलिमिटेड पावर दे दिया था संशोधन करके, वक्फ को उन्होंने संविधान से ऊपर।
All right, viewers, now just to put this a bit into context, now President Draupadi Murmu had given her assent to the Waqf Amendment Bill days after the Parliament passed the legislation following heated debates of over 13 hours in both houses. And now 3 days after that, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board announced nationwide protests against what they call a draconian bill. Here's more.
पक्ष में 288, विपक्ष में 232 बहुमत प्रस्ताव के पक्ष में है।
Ayes 128.
After Parliament passed the Waqf Amendment Bill in both the houses,
the bill is passed.
The bill has now officially come to force after President gave her nod to the Waqf Amendment Bill. Meanwhile, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board has announced a nationwide protest over the bill. The Muslim Board has called the bill as a severe assault on Islamic values, religion and religious freedom.
पार्लियामेंट में जो तमाशा बीजेपी आज कर रही है पेश करके, ये हमारे साथ, हमारे हकूक के साथ, मुसलमानों के हकूक के साथ खिलवाड़ है। ये कम्युनली मोटिवेटेड है, एक कम्युनिटी को मार्जिनलाइज करने की कोशिश है, एक कम्युनिटी से उसकी इबादत गाहें, मस्जिदें, ईदगाहें, कब्रिस्तान, वक्फ के और इदारे ये छीनने की कोशिश है और हम इसको बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे।
AIMPLB has now stated that it will lead a nationwide movement against these amendments in coordination with all religious organizations. Soon after the AIMPLB announced the protest, AIMIM also extended its support to the Muslim Personal Law Board. Meanwhile, the BJP condemned fear-mongering over Waqf Amendment Bill and even stated that AIMPLB does not want poor Muslims, especially women, to benefit. With presidential assent, the Waqf Amendment Bill is now a law. As protests begin and political responses unfold, all eyes are on how the new provisions will be implemented across the country.
All right, now getting in some latest visuals from Sri Lanka, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has now departed from Anuradhapura. And after his much successful Sri Lankan visit, we learned that Sri Lanka has immediately released 14 Indian fishermen as a special gesture for Prime Minister Modi. That's the latest that is coming in from Sri Lanka. And of course, this comes a day after and amid extensive bilaterals that were held between the two nations. And the recurring arrests of fishermen from Tamil Nadu, viewers, and the seizure of their boats by Sri Lankan authorities have been a long-standing conflict between the two countries. And Prime Minister Modi, in fact, in his meeting with Sri Lankan President Anurakkumara Dissanayake, had emphasized the release of fishermen and stressed on their welfare and the return of their boats. And the Prime Minister had also, as we learn, had said that both the countries should move forward in this matter with a humane approach. All right, viewers, now back home, Prime Minister Modi is set to inaugurate the new Pamban rail bridge today. It's also known as the country's first vertical lift sea bridge. The Pamban bridge connects Rameshwaram to the mainland. India's new Pamban bridge has been built at a cost of over 700 crores and constructed with stainless steel reinforcement, high-grade protective paint and fully welded joints. This bridge is slated to boost the increased durability and reduced maintenance needs. And those are the visuals on your screen of the Pamban Bridge, which is set to be inaugurated shortly by the Prime Minister, who will be in Tamil Nadu later today for the inauguration of a slew of development projects. My colleague Sharda is in Rameshwaram at the moment. He is taking a look at the latest report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to open this new railway Paman Bridge, which should be connecting the mainland of India with the island of Rameshwaram. Modi is set to reach here within 2 hours of time, following which should be flagging off the first train here, which would be connecting Rameshwaram to Chennai to Tambaram. However, the bridge has a drawback, is that the wind kilometers exceeds 58, the train would not be passing through it. Comparing it to the old bridge, this new vertical lift bridge would be allowing the train to pass in less than 3 minutes and connecting the mainland in India and Rameshwaram. This new era of technology is about to bring in more tourists to the school of Rameshwaram. However, what we have to notice is that following this particular development, the tourism in the city of Rameshwaram would be increasing. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, after this flagging off, would be reaching to the temple where he would be praying to the Lord deity Shiva, following which he'd be addressing the crowd of thousands here and also the BJP cadres and make sure that the 2026 elections in Tamil Nadu, he has something to say about it.
And my colleague Sharda joins me on this broadcast from Rameshwaram. Sharda, the Prime Minister is set to be in Tamil Nadu in a short while from now. What are the kind of preparations that are underway? And can you tell us what's his itinerary going to be like? Because we understand that there's a slew of development projects that are on the cards.
With just 20 minutes left for Narendra Modi to land in Rameshwaram, he'd be coming directly from Sri Lanka right now to the land of Rameshwaram. So the inauguration is set to happen around 12 noon for the Paman Bridge, following which Narendra Modi would be visiting the Rameshwaram temple around 12:45, and at around 1:30 he'll be meeting the public of the Rameshwaram, and also he'll be meeting multiple BJP cadres who would come across the state to meet the Prime Minister in the land of Rameshwaram. Also, the security has been tightened around the island. No external vehicle is to be allowed inside the island of Rameshwaram, and the vehicles that are moving out are also going with proper security in place, and there is also the bomb squad in place. There is SPG guards in place making sure there is no security threats. Anybody who is coming to the island is completely and thoroughly checked to make sure. So if you can see the roads here, it's been completely empty for the past 1 hour. So Narendra Modi can pass through these roads very freely, and that the security, when it comes to security breaching, it's made sure that no other vehicles or no other party vehicles been set place into Rameshwaram to make sure there are no protests or any other issues happening from the state that would be causing trouble due to the inauguration of the Paman Bridge. Following the inauguration of the bridge and this temple visit, Narendra Modi is set to fly back to Delhi from Madurai.
Yes. All right, Sharda, thank you so much for all those updates. We'll keep coming back to you as we await those first visuals of the Prime Minister from Tamil Nadu. And on the other side of Live and Breaking, Union Home Minister Amit Shah is set to visit Jammu and Kashmir later today, and he's going to take stock of the state security framework. Stay tuned to Republic TV as we get you the latest on that story.
आपके घर के खाने में रेस्टोरेंट जैसा स्वाद ले आए MDH का शाही पनीर मसाला। पनीर को क्या मस्त बना डाला।
Good morning. We are live and breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest coming in this Sunday. A lot lined up for you. Prime Minister Modi will be inaugurating India's first vertical lift sea bridge today in Tamil Nadu. All this and much more coming right up. And as usual, the top headlines we're tracking this weekend. Let's get started. All India Muslim Personal Law Board calls for nationwide protest, says will ask minorities across cities in India to oppose the Waqf Amendment Bill.
सरकार बनाकर के इस कानून को कूड़ेदान में फेंकना। सीए एनआरसी का भी हम लोगों ने प्रस्ताव जो है भेजा था कि नहीं भेजा था कि किसी भी कीमत पे हम लोग सीए एनआरसी को बिहार में लागू नहीं होने देंगे।
RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav claims Waqf bill will be tossed into the dustbin if the party is elected to power in Bihar. West Bengal turns fortress for Ram Navami procession, security heightened across the state. Minister Amit Shah to visit Jammu and Kashmir later today to take stock of state's security framework. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman meets former AIA-DMK General Secretary amid rumors of the party's return to NDA. Sources say announcement could be likely soon. Prime Minister Modi to visit Tamil Nadu to inaugurate the Pamban Rail Bridge and a slew of development projects. And viewers, a shocking video has surfaced showing young employees being treated worse than animals, crawling on all fours, leashed like dogs, and force-fed bananas spat on by their seniors, all because they failed to meet sales targets. This is not discipline. This is dehumanization. This is slavery in the name of sales. The company Keltro, operating in Perumbavoor, sold the dreams of a decent job, offered around 12,000 rupees in pay, and delivered public humiliation instead, and psychological torture. And when a young woman resisted, she was allegedly summoned to a terrace and insulted by the general manager. That manager has now been booked for insulting a woman. State Youth Commission has taken suo motu action, and protests have erupted, forcing the closure of the firm's office as well. So back to my coverage coming in right now. This is an incident, shocking video. You can see how the employees are being treated there. They're crawling on all fours. They're leashed like dogs. Force-fed bananas. They're spat on by the seniors, all because they failed to meet the sales target. Humiliation at its worst coming in. And I want to go across to my colleague Ashwin, who's joining us on the phone line. Ashwin, these visuals are quite shocking in terms of the humiliation that employees are facing. These are employees who are earning a decent living by being employed by a company. But what they're getting in return is treatment which is meted out to them. They're being treated like animals, literally. Ashwin. Yes, go ahead. What is happening? What's the latest we're learning of? Any action has been taken against this humiliation?
Absolutely. Absolutely, the kind of humiliation that these young men had gone through in Kerala has made the entire state in a big shock. In fact, the Education Minister, also the Labour Minister, V. Shivankutty, has now constituted a Labour Commission to even look into the matter and submit a report within 3 days. In fact, it has now been seen that these men who earns a paltry income of around 6,000 to 8,000 rupees have been given targets which are difficult to meet. That is one. And number two, in fact, they fail to get these targets. They have been subjected to such kind of a humiliation. This is also getting from inside sources that this has been continuing for a long time. In fact, these young men did not even understand that this is absolutely wrong, and nobody even complained until this video got leaked. So the BJP has also come forward out and started reacting on it. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the president of the BJP, has stated that this is the pathetic state of the youth of Kerala who are trying to get jobs, trying to stick on to jobs despite facing such humiliation. So that is a reaction from the BJP that is there. We are also likely to be joined by the BJP leader Muralidharan over here. He will be speaking to us in a short while from now. We are trying to get his reaction as well. But what's important is that this has shocked the conscience of Kerala. Young men have been subjected to utmost cruelty by these managers. The company in question is Perba. Muralidharan, these youngsters who have been subjected to this kind of humiliation, how do you see it? Is there a larger issue?
See, the thing is, Kerala has been suffering from a lot of issues, especially in the youth sector and the youth front. One is the widespread usage of drugs. Second is the severe lack of employment opportunities. So that is driving the people to out of Kerala to various other states and out of country. So the atmosphere for employment and opportunities for employment, and for that whatever measures have to be taken, that's perhaps lacking, and that is the reason perhaps for such incidents and such.
Do you think these youngsters were subjected to humiliation? They were okay with this humiliation because they were fearing that they will lose their job, they don't have that much opportunity in Kerala. Is that the reason? Is that what you pointed?
That is why people tend to suffer and accept humiliations, because if they feel that there are very few opportunities in Kerala, and those who doesn't like to go abroad, they suffer those humiliation and continue in Kerala. That is the hapless situation.
So this is what the BJP is stating, that the larger issue of the problems that is faced by youth is what has been reflected in incidences like these.
All right.
Back to the studio.
Ashwin, I'll come back to me. Joined by a guest on the phone line. Rahul Ishwar is joining us, analyst joining us, activist and analyst both. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ishwar. You know, what we see right now is that how these employees were treated like animals. They were leashed. They were insulted. This is so-called punishment. So-called punishment. Your first reaction to these pictures that we are seeing on our screens?
This is absolutely outrageous, as Honorable Minister C. Muralidharan ji said. No, this shows a very bad culture. This kind of a corporate slavery culture or any kind of humiliation is absolutely unacceptable. I hope some action would be taken. There are news and counter news coming that somebody is saying this is a training and all, but that sounds, we don't know the truth of it. So there should be an inquiry into it. There should be an immediate, strong inquiry into the entire nature what happened. And this is very outrageous. As a Malayali, as a Keralite, I'm ashamed that something like this happens in my state. So a detailed inquiry should be conducted, and those who are found guilty should definitely be punished. And this is not the culture we Keralites or Indians would like to portray outside. So absolutely this is outrageous and condemnable.
Right. Right. And what kind of action do you think should be taken in this case? Mr. Ishwar, given the fact that these are employees and the employees who are trying to earn honest living, and this is not how somebody gets treated, especially absolutely a treatment which is completely dehumanizing. Do you think it's time for strict action in this case? And what do you think the action should be taken against this company should be?
Absolutely, ma'am. First, there should be a strong inquiry, then we should find evidence, and then there should be a strong action. Labor law should be implemented in a serious way. There are many corporate companies who don't understand and really see their employees as humans. We are not working machines. That's the reason why proper sensitization, awareness, and those who have done this thing, they should definitely be brought to book. They should be held accountable and punished. So first inquiry, then searching for evidence, and then a strong action should be the way ahead. It has brought shame to me as a Malayali and a Keralite, and I'm ashamed that such a thing happened here. So a strong inquiry and action should follow, I hope.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rahul Ishwar, activist, for joining us there on the phone line with us. I want to go back to my colleague Ashwin, who's also joining us. And, the inquiry has been ordered already. You were talking about that, Ashwin. And, this has put focus back on how the private sector is some areas of the private sector, the labor practices are unregulated. This is an example of how unregulated labor practices result in employees being treated like animals. Yes, go ahead, Ashwin. What else are we learning of?
Well, absolutely. In a state like Kerala, where there are stringent labor laws which are set in place, where historically Kerala has had an advantage of labor laws which are very stringent, even in a state like Kerala, this has happened and it has gone unnoticed, is something that has added shock. In fact, V. Shivankuti, the minister, has stated that severe actions will be taken and quickly the people who are behind this will be brought to books after a thorough committee finds out what actually went about. Now, this company in question is called as Keltro. It's supposed to be taking materials of this company called as Hindustan Powerlink and selling it to people who, and these salesperson, these marketing team are supposed to be young guys who go home to home and sell these products. So based on their performance, daily performances, they are evaluated, and if they're not able to do it, that's when this kind of humiliation is being subjected to, is what is essentially being reported. It's the scorching heat of summer. The government has itself stated that walking out between 11 and 3 is definitely not the way ahead. Certainly, there is kind of a productivity low, but this has probably affected them. But this kind of measures, what we are seeing, this kind of videos that is coming out, which is absolutely inhumane, has put Kerala in a tight spot.
Ashwin,
and that is certainly a matter of concern.
Brinda Adige is also joining us on the phone. And I'll come back to you, Ashwin. I want a first reaction from Brinda Adige. You know, one more case of we see employees being treated in such a manner, and this is raising a lot of concerns. This video has also gone viral on social media, sparking a debate. Yes, Brinda Adige.
This is not just concern. We should be outraged that employees have been treated like slaves. Is that a registered company, or is it some kind of a feudal setup? Profiteering from these people, they are salesmen and women, and if they can sell, they'll sell. If they cannot, they cannot. Maybe there is some other kind of HR guidelines that must guide them, but you cannot make any of the citizens of this nation to be licking the floor or any such kind of thing. It is a human rights violation, not even just the labor laws. And I hope that the management is punished. There is a case that must be registered against the management. All of them. Nobody should say we did not know. It was only the manager. It was only the supervisor. All of them are party to this.
All right. Thank you for joining us there, Brinda Adige, activist, for joining us. We'll keep a close eye on the story as workplace abuse is caught on camera. Now we move ahead after Mamata Banerjee, RJD leader and former Bihar Deputy CM Tejasvi Yadav has promised that the WAF amendment bill will be tossed into the dustbin if his party formed a government in Bihar. He said that his party had moved the Supreme Court against a controversial legislation which passed in the parliament earlier this week. That is right. So back to Makam is coming in right now, and we also have the reactions. Let's go ahead and play it out.
But walk of property also, it was done motivatedly, politically, to divide the country, to divide and rule policy. That BJP's agenda, that we know everything. But one day they will go away and the other government will come, and that time must remember there will be another amendment and it will be passed in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha.
सरकार बना करके इस कानून को कूड़ेदान में फेंकना। सीए एनआरसी का भी हम लोगों ने प्रस्ताव जो है भेजा था कि नहीं भेजा था कि किसी भी कीमत पे हम लोग सीए एनआरसी को बिहार में लागू नहीं होने देंगे। सब लोगों ने पास करके भेजा था।